Okay, uncle. Daughters and sons of Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies and of Bharat Desh, I have drawn inspiration to salutate you thus, drawing inspiration from Swami Vivekananda. Respected Vice Chairman, Mr. Suneet Vats, the Conference Chair, Professor Siddharth Mishra, the Conference Head, Dr. Charulata Singh, and the respected elders sitting in the front row, Mr. Professor Venkat Rao, former Vice Chancellor of the Law University, Professor T.V. Subbarao, Director of the Law University, and the Professor Ramesh Sharma, the convener of this conference. You know, it's an honor to be invited at the institution which not only bears the name of the great saint, but you're affiliated with Guru Gobind Singh, Indraprastha University, the great saint soldier of this land, whose prayer, Desheva Bharmoye, ye shubhan mein shubh karman te kabu na taro. You know, the message from this is, Dear God, grant my request so that I may never deviate from good deeds. Mark the last two words, the young children here, good deeds. And that is what your profession will speak to not only the country, but to the world. Mr. Vice Chairman, I imagine standing today at this moment in the capital city of the kingdom of Pandavas, Indraprastha. So, when you have drawn this name, I really would pay my compliments and respects to the chairman, your father, for having enmeshed the great name of this college with all the great personalities of this land. The name itself covers the landscape and the mediascape of our nation. And that's the way I look. And it doesn't end there. Your motto is in pursuit of perfection. And I'm sure you have not only been put into it, but you're practicing pursuit of perfection. Before I start, I hope, or may I ask, is anyone carrying any weapon? Being a military man, I must put this question. Okay. How many of you are carrying mobiles right now? So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the biggest weapon of the present-day humanity. So you are the socially weaponized soldiers every minute of your lives in an era of hybrid war. It is the mobile which has changed the world. The subject, media and communication in the New World Order, is of utmost importance. And I can only but compliment the faculty, the management, for having selected a subject of such utmost importance to all of us. Dear students, you're fortunate to be receiving in the next 2 days a vast coverage of mediascape, I would say, from heads of faculties and visiting delegates who will be addressing you on the various sub-themes, which is all encompassing. It's encompassing our professional, our political, economic, talk of anything, military, technology, all these aspects are being covered in your next 2 days, and you are going to be very enriched in that. Now, talk of a thing, and it's a media news, be it in print, be it in electronics, or be it in the social digital world. Now, that is the power and responsibility which you in the media carry with you. You are the watchdogs, and the responsibility of that power is being ethical. So you have a special role in honest and transparent reporting, writing, and speaking. This in turn helps in nation building. It helps in building national character, the single most factor of making a nation great. If power flows from the barrel of the gun, then that is the military, then pen is mightier than the sword. That is you in the media. So, I would take upon myself to speak on some thoughts on military-media relationship, the social media soldiers of the day, which all of us are. It is for you to understand the roles which you would perform in course of your professional lives, the nuances of how to enmesh the two professions. The two profession means you and me, the uniform which I wore for, in actual fact, more than 4 decades, starting from 11 years of age. You are the fourth estate of our country, and the military is the pillar of national security and power. So we have got a common pursuit, and that is make my India great, make my India strong. Whatever discipline you select, be it journalism, as writers, the electronic, or the social media, or the digital, whichever discipline you get into, you will be the future media moguls, media gurus. So you carry a great responsibility, and you must keep your feet on ground. Remember, life is a constant battle. Aim should be to win the war of the minds within us. I shall dwell briefly on the New World Order and then put the military-media relationship in perspective, but very briefly, because Mr. Suneet Vats has given you a wonderful, concise canvas of both the media and the New World Order, and so did the conference head do that. In so doing, I shall be touching upon what the military actually is indulging with the nation, with the media personnel, and how we are going about it, and what have been the issues on hand. Now, the New World Order, would it be right to say it's an era of agreements and disagreements, where alliances could be rubbished with a drop of a pen? It's an era of number of pacts, but how are those pacts being practiced on ground? There are a number of communiques, but are they being practiced? Flowery diplomacy and language, but on ground being ignored. These are the hard facts in the New World Order. You are well educated. I would like to cover what is happening in the world and how India is affected. You see, today we feel very proud listening to the television, reading in the print. Okay, we have had a Quad agreement where America, Japan, and Australia are partners. We are the partners in the Indo-Pacific region, enlarging our boundaries from east coast of Africa right up to west coast of America. But in actual fact, on ground, would that be so? It is, time will evolve and tell where we stand. We have got Quad agreements going with Israel, UAE, America, and us in the Middle East. So all these are the factors where we feel a sense of power, and why not? Because we have made a lot of headway. India has made forays to be counted in the world today. Our Prime Minister has been rated as the number one leader in the nation, which is a sense of great pride. And we should be proud that India is counting in the world. Now, coming closer, in South Asia, partly Middle East, what has happened is the center of gravity of the Islamic fundamentalism and Talibanism has come right at Afghanistan, Pakistan soil. And that is a great worry for India. It is a worry for the rest of the world also, because if the empire of the caliphate has to be established, well, the dangers, what could it be? So we don't need fundamentalism, we don't need radicalism in this world, and that is the new world order, the challenge before us. Then, in this country with India and its neighbors, China has always had the policy of ring of pearls around us, and that is gaining momentum, gaining strength. Even Nepal has taken some border issues with us. But India knows how to withstand all these loud, or I would say, some of the statements which are coming. We know our statesmanship is deliberate but wise. Now, in the New World Order, COVID-19 has been touched. And I would say what it has done, it has led to the pandemic war, or close, or happened so, the biological war. This has already come. Unseen, invisible war. Look at the multitude. People have died. Tragedies of unimaginable proportions. So that is something. And of course, if you ask me, I call it the China Wuhan virus. That is the most accurate name. A country which is breathing down the world, wanting more territory, laying claims. But history tells me that this country's boundary ended at the Great Wall of China. So what has happened? Which history they are repeating again and again? If we go into our history, then Mount Kailash and Mansarovar were also part of our scheme of things, part of our land. So, statecraft today demands that we address these issues with a lot of maturity and wisdom in this world order, where alliances and pacts, they change order any moment. So I will not go further, because I'm sure the other things of the New World Order will be touched. But coming close internally is also a new order. It's a new order. It's a new system of governance under the democratic system which has come about. It's an era. We've been having a flashback to our cultural heritage and reviving our cultural heritage. to give us greater national pride, nationalism. So that is one change. And then there are live issues, which governments time to time in the last 70 years have tried to address in their own way. But what are the immediate challenges? Immediate challenges are the Maoist threat which is there. Our borders are in a state of perpetual and constant conflict. We have to manage our own countrymen. And when we have to manage those countrymen, they are armed. They are armed to kill our own security forces. And who is adding to that? Who is aiding them? It is our neighbors, the two wicked neighbors which we have got. So that is a challenge to the country. We have got other challenges. We got the Citizens Amendment Act, the management of it. We got the Article 370. We have implemented it, but it has to still be managed. The populace has to be brought into the mainstream. We've had recently the farm bills. It will be revived, I hope, with better wisdom, with the views of all stakeholders, and the country should march ahead. So these are some of the things in our internal scheme of things where we have to manage. And when I say internal, well, our neighbors, they count in our internal things also. Okay. You see, social media is one aspect which we'll be covering. But here I would like to touch in the New World Order. In our own country, are we debating enough against a country which is our threat number one and which has activated and trying to drain our economic resources through military means in eastern Ladakh or all along the borders? A country which never had the sovereignty over Tibet, at best it could have been suzerainty, now says that is the palm and 5 fingers is part of their territory. And 5 fingers start from Nepal, Sikkim, Bhutan, Arunachal. So how do we manage this? And the salami slicing which they keep doing. The problem in our country, which we have to address, and you as a media personnel must highlight such issues. China is being discussed more on social media. How much is it being discussed in the parliament, which holds the supreme power? How much we are devoting that time to national security and evolving of national security strategy? So these are the things, and this is where your responsibilities are going to be there, in times to come. And don't think that you're young. You all are very well educated, and you are our future. Now, having spoken briefly on the New World Order, but I think I was not very brief, and the conference chair will allow me to do that, I would like to go to a little flashback and tell you how military and the media has evolved. Throughout history, technology has influenced the nature of warfare significantly. Societies historically have faced the primary challenge to find ways to communicate. And the aim is to communicate to as many people and as fast as possible. This prompted innovative ways to get messages to the masses, and this remains a constant process. I want to tell you here, I am sure you would have heard about Second Lieutenant Arun Khetarpal, the 1971 cavalry war hero, Param Veer Chakra, posthumously. He was killed on 16 December evening when the ceasefire actually had been announced in the morning. But the dissemination had not taken place. And it doesn't end there when we talk about communication. And the parents thank that the war is over. And on 19th December morning comes the telegram that he was killed in action. That was the communication of the day, and that's the way of disseminating information. Not far back, 50 years. So this I would elaborate to you by drawing certain analogies from Toffler's waves of changes and the three-wave wars, and draw comparison with the alongside evolution of the military and the media. What I will call the first generation warfare, I'll equate it likewise. It was preceding the Stone and the Iron Ages. The first wave was characterized by the agricultural revolution, which produced weapons at that time, like the sword, axes, then it came to spears and lances, and then it came to bows and arrows. Mind you, they were the standoff weapons of the time. The Stone Age started with what was their standoff weapon? They threw a stone at you. So how far it went, that was the standoff distance. No doubt, at this time, the human resource banked upon muscle power. In this era, oral and written communication played a major role in primeval times. With the development of alphabets, which was about 5,000 years ago, language, written language, like the ideogrammatic way, picture-based alphabets, started to change how cultures communicated. This led slowly to the use of pigeon couriers, and then on to horse carriers, or horse couriers. So they were all also, let me tell you, pigeon was also a weapon of war then, because you could carry messages long distances. Then the second wave characterized by industrial revolution. And this coincides, to my mind, with the second and third generation of wars. It was symbolized by machine age. You know more of it as the locomotive came in. But it produced weapons starting from muskets, machine guns, onto tanks, submarines, and aircrafts. And it paved the way from trench warfare, you dug in and you fired against your enemy, to mechanized warfare, so which got us into Second World War. So I bring you on to era 1914-18 and 1939-1945. So the human resources employment started to switch from a declining muscle power to increasing mind power. And thank God I was born after that, because my muscle power is a little less. So I feel fortunate to have been born in this era. But it was characterized by mass destruction because of these wars. But alongside with the transition to the industrial age in the 18th and 19th centuries, large populations headed to urban areas, and people started seeking information and entertainment. So human mind came out with printing technology at the heart of its modernization of that time, which led to newspapers, magazines, the telegraph, and the telephone. And that formed the media communications of that era, the modern communications of that era. The third wave is characterized by the information age, and we are living in it, symbolized by the computer. The field of defense technology has progressively brought forth nuclear weapons, weapons of mass destruction, intercontinental ballistic missiles, precision-guided munitions, and the functioning of an integrated command-controlled communication computer intelligence system, which we call C42I. I2, and you are the ones, you are also equally functional in this C4I2. These defense systems have profoundly affected the way nations prepare for their defense, for their war, for their security. Today's technology is also termed as the revolution in military affairs. RMA combines, where you also get involved, artificial intelligence, network-centric order, cyber, digital applications, robotics, and the psychological warfare. So these are all, again, weapons which in layman's glossary are both smart and intelligent, and they are both in use through kinetic and non-kinetic means. So this actually, we are living in fourth generation warfare, our society, though advanced countries are a little higher in that fourth and fifth generation warfare which comes about. And this era has also led to proxy wars, where insurgents and terrorism and militancy is all pervading. And this is called war by other means, WOM, war by other means, the irregular warfare. But in the media and the communication world, at the turn of the century, that is 1900, where the addition of motion pictures and the radio in the early 1900s, and later the television in the 1940s and 50s. Now, this came in the Western world. It came a little later to us. But the world increasingly embraced the foundation of today's mass communication. Mass communication. In the 1970s, again, I would say America or Western world, it came a little later, and Mr. Vaz touched about it. We got this in early 90s. Cable started challenging over-the-air broadcasting systems and traditional program distribution, leading way to the wired nations. It was called the wired nations. Now, the information age has been replaced the industrial age. In 1983, Time magazine called the personal computer, or named the personal computer, as the first machine of the year. But soon after, 10 years later, PCs outsold televisions. Now that is the advancement. And then in 2006, Time magazine named you, me, as the person of the year for your use of technology to broaden communication. You took advantage of changes in global media and set the trend for social media soldiers. Today, you, your friends and families spend hours engaged in data-mediated communication, such as emailing, texting, and participating in various forms of social media. I have a friend who's in the TV media. He is doing the digital TV news. So I asked him, just I think about a fortnight back, okay, what time do you get back home? And the answer I got was, yes, sir, whether I'm at home or not, it's the same thing. When I'm at home also, I'm not at home because I'm on mobile. News is 24/7, 360 degrees function for you in your profession. Hence, whatever I've covered is, the predominance of knowledge and mind power in this era forms the quintessentials of human resources. And what I've tried to do is to put across the corresponding advances in the field of revolution of military affairs and evolution of media, how they went about in a parallel manner. And these go along with changes in nature and character of war and the stratagems associated with the media. Today, as we operate in India, we appear, as I mentioned, to be in the fourth generation warfare, which includes information warfare, where quintessentially military and the media have to be hand in glove. Remember, we are also living in a world of proxy war, hybrid war, unrestricted warfare, irregular warfare, and here China champions the world with its three-war strategy, the three warfare they call it, and they address the public, the psychology, and the legal aspect, and they keep drilling propaganda into other nations. They do that into India. So they identify what are the weaknesses, vulnerabilities of the nation through this warfare strategy of theirs. So they attack your caste system, your religion system, your internal bickerings which are on. So they get into the minds of the people. And you have to be morally upfront, not to get swayed whatever comes around. Now, let us see what are mutual perceptions in a media-military relationship. The military is, much viewed as a breed apart, a closed hierarchical organization resembling a closed fortress. The military and the media, which is a primary instrument of engagement, are in actual fact joined at the hip in an up and down movement. That is the relationship. And it dates back in our country to pre-independence, the British Indian Army, where it was a censored and isolated living in cantonments. And since independence, I would say we have moved through some distinct phases, but this first phase during the Nehru era continued. Military remained censored, you could not speak to the press, and you were kept in isolation. But post-1962 Sino-Indian War, there was an opening. And 65 war, 1971 war were covered immensely on the radio and in the newspaper print. In 1999 was a major shift, the Kargil War. It was the first television war of India, though the world saw one in 1991 of the Gulf War, when the senior Bush, he invaded Iraq. So it was the first electronic war where the electronic media and the print media and they were actively involved in the soil of Kargil to report the war happenings. And that gave a great confidence in the media and military relationship of cooperation. Because what the military likes most when you're fighting, particularly on the battlefield, is public support. And that public support comes from you, how you report. So that is your, again, importance, and I keep emphasizing to you because you are the ones who are going to do the future of our country. As we move on into the uncertain future, which is in a constant state of flux, one of persistent conflict, the environment demands of us mutual media-military engagement. The common goal being national interest and national aim. But what are the issues between the two which holds back each other? Let us analyze. There's one author who took out a book, Going to the Wars, Max Hastings. He failed to pass being an army paratrooper, became an author. He writes at the start of the book, and which I've read, soldiers and journalists make uneasy bedfellows. Members of the military are formed in a tradition of discipline, honor, teamwork, and sacrifices. But journalists, he writes, are individualists. Whoever heard of a successful reporter respecting rules and hierarchies? So that is your profession. Soldiers have to see things through to the end, particularly commanders. Journalists never have to do. They have reported. Carry on, the rest of you. So these are the differences. So the tug of war between the media and the military is an ongoing exercise. But what is at stake is protecting our national security. Time again I will touch national security, national aim. Once again in this regard, the 26/11 Mumbai attacks which took place, which was an operation undertaken by the National Security Guard, which has army personnel under the Inspector General of Operations. So they undertook the operation. But you would be very young, but some of us in the front rows, we know that it was a 24/7, 360 again coverage on the electronic media, and what the newspaper reports also came. Let me tell you, despite the cooperation and very good relationship with the media, here was one place we betrayed the security of our operations by reporting anything and everything on the TV, and Pakistanis were watching, and they were handling their terrorists operating in the hotels Taj and Trident. They had real-time information, which our own troops, the National Security Guard, did not have, the special security force of ours. Now, that is your maturity and wisdom. How far is your reach, your outreach, and put a stop to that. You see, media plays an impactful role in the minds of the people and influences them to change their thought process. That's your job. However, if one tries to couple media and military, both can be linked as an arranged marriage. And arranged marriage, it is like, when you want to know if the couple are husband and wife, if they are sleeping with their backs towards each other, it is confirmed. So same is with military and media. We have to be in the same room under the same room, under the same constitution, where you're protected by Article 19, and we also have freedom of expression, but we are under the executive branch of the government and the military acts and rules. So that is so much for the media-military relationship. Now let me come up to the social media. As I've said earlier also, the two essential pillars of the democracy and sovereignty of India are the military and the news media, and we have to carry this forward in all forms. Now, social media, the social media soldiers, our awareness really has come about 3-4 years back. Otherwise, we were trigger happy on our mobile to do what we were doing. From Facebook to WhatsApp, to Instagram to Twitter, Tinder to Snapchat, the multiple ways we communicate with each other through social and digital media is now an integral part of everyone's daily lives. But what are the implications when these platforms are used by the military personnel and their families? You see, in America, Russia, China, and Britain, the way military have used the media is as a weapon of war to influence and change the battle space and in addressing formal public opinion. This has been especially significant since 1980s with them. But as social media has grown and developed, the ability to control content for strategic purposes has become much more difficult. In Britain, research was carried out of the serious reputational risks in this regard, particularly in the use of misogynistic and racist language online, and in young soldiers. They were using their military status for all the wrong things. Now, but imagine countries like China and Pakistan. They'll be mainly using this as a guile to shape propaganda through cyber war against us, mainly aimed at the military. So, in September 2018, the Army had a seminar on the social media and the armed forces and the nation. And it came out that whereas we cannot restrict or stop soldiers from using social media, but in official purposes, they will not have one. So there has been ban imposed on 89 apps, which includes Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and the like of them. All these have been banned for the Indian Army to use. But yet, they can use it in their homes. So it's not in the official line. So there is always a dichotomy in that. Now, in this social media, when we say all the apps which I have spelled out, in modern day warfare, information warfare is important, and within it is artificial intelligence. We have to leverage the artificial intelligence to our advantage. We must engage through the social media So the social media, I would say, is here to stay, and we have to find ways how do we get ourselves into the enemy's mind to do so. I touched upon weaponization of the media. Groups like ISIS, they use these platforms in the YouTube, Twitter extensively to spread messages around the world and enticing new recruits to join them and putting most radical type of messages which is motivating and brainstorming the youth to do all the radical activities. This social media is like what I would like to say an US retired army officer said. It has spread so much. He said that every village once had an idiot, and now the internet has brought them all together and made them more powerful than ever before. So that is the power of the social media. And founders like, Mark Zuckerberg and this Jack Dorsey of the Facebook, WhatsApp and all, they are only software internet entrepreneurs who are now dictating the world's politics and war-like situations. Look what happened. Hillary Clinton lost the election because of the social media inputs, whether it was from another country, Russia, or whatever. But that is the power which is the thing. And you see, this is a profit-making business for them. It's a profit-making business for them. But what is their theme is social media rewards are not morality or veracity. It is virality. So there has to be law to control such owners, and our country is moving in that direction to do so. And to implement a change, you need a lot of the machine can be changed, but man behind the machine cannot be changed. We can talk of artificial intelligence, we can talk of information warfare, but the super spreaders have to be got hold of and, controlled. Now, I'd like to tell you what we have done in the media military, in our own affairs. You must have read, China came out with a fake news that the microwave weapon system they had, there was a big cauldron of fire and they destroyed the Indian army in eastern Ladakh. This came out this year in July itself. And the Australian magazine wrote on it extensively. So we came up on the media, the military saw that, came up, and the media was briefed, and it was denied that there is no such thing. And let me tell you, no such thing happened. Likewise, in July this year again, there were reports from 2-3 newspapers or the print in which it said, new, fresh PLA and Indian troops conflict has taken place and fighting is on. Now, I don't name people individually or the print magazine, but it was denied by us. There were writings on 26 July, 10th August, and it was denied by us. Likewise, last year on 10th August, there was a newspaper report in one of the leading newspapers, one of the financial types, which said, inquiry is on, and it has been completed regarding the Galwan debacle, they called it. So the army had to come out and say, firstly, there is no inquiry on, and it was not a debacle. And that is true. That is true. It was not a debacle. We have stood up. We have stood up 10 feet tall. We've given a message to the Chinese, we are 10 feet tall. We will face you. We may get killed, but we'll kill you. So no such thing happened. Now I tell you, the media has also got a very good role. You are the watchdogs, I said. So you must indulge in matters military. Yes, operational secrecy and protection is the job of the military. Your job is outreach to get the maximum information for your TRP and commercialization purposes. So we have got to have a balance in that. But there are other factors, human resource, disciplinary vigilance actions, wrongdoings by the army, malpractices. Yes, you must come out with it. Even in operations, I would say, if you're in the front, which you are, you have to write the record of battles, which is the future history. So that is the responsibility you carry. So you have a very good role. Recently, about again 6 months back, there was a newspaper report, a small newspaper report in Punjab, which said there's a lady working in this Menraga, and she was the mother of a Kargil martyr. So army read the news, investigated, found that the news was correct, and she had not got her dues. So that was restored within 3 months. So no, that is the good role of the media, and we look forward to it. We've had now the situations when, we operate in the Northeast, we operate in the J&K. The Nagaland killings, the very unfortunate, tragic action which has taken place. Media has called it as a daft operation. Someone has called it, okay, they are murderers, the army. Well, it's not all true. It's both sides of the story. We are there to protect, and they're talking of removing of ASPA. Well, do so by all means, but ensure that you, as the central government, state government, have control over your population, that you are delivering politically your social administrative reforms to get the population in the mainstream. Let me tell you, the military is not there on its own accord. They've been ordered to be there. And you have got to give protection, because you can't have both hands tied behind your back and then operate. So it's a humane angle, and there's also a military angle on that. And the very recent tragedy, I will, finally touch on that, which was the helicopter crash which took place in Nilgiris, in which we lost very tragically our Chief of Defense Staff, his wife, and 12 other members. Let me tell you who was a member in that aircraft. Was an outstanding person, outstanding character traits and outstanding professional, right to the lowest level of a soldier. Only then you can be in that entourage. Let me tell you the maturity with which the media has addressed this issue. It was known that the crash took place, but it came out very gradually, in consonance with the government, to declare the death of the Chief of Defense Staff. It took some time. I myself was on a channel at 5 p.m. I knew the news, but I had to use words. I'm praying a miracle takes place and something good happens. Now, but there's some people who came out at 2:30 itself, trying to report that syndrome of first with the news, breaking news. No. Don't do that. You have to be in consonance with government, with the military and media, and I think this is a very good example. And what has happened? This General Brawat, I think, has united the country even more, and he saw it all from above heavens. The sort of tributes it gave, and what armed forces has felt, the great pride. The nation took great pride. Yes, these are our armed forces, we have lost them. There was a great grief. So these are some of the examples. I have got a number of them, but see, I always fear the conference chair and due respect to time and punctuality. So I think I will round off at this point. And any questions? Okay. So I'll see questions, and I look forward to questions. And one thing which I've been fearing the most, I must confess now at the end of it, and I hope she's listening. My severest critic is sitting right in the front row, and the drive back is not going to be very easy for me. So I'll face this particular media one-to-one. Thank you.